Hi, and welcome to the virtual United Way of Greater Toledo Campaign Manager Training. My name is Sierra Hutton, and I am the Senior Development Officer at Your United Way. I would like to start off by saying thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to watch this training. As you know, campaign managers are the heartbeat of our workplace campaigns, and we are truly grateful to each of you for taking on this role inside of your organization. What you do for our community has and will leave a long lasting impact. Throughout this training, you will hear from other members of the United Way team who will share tips, tricks, and community information that'll help you lead a successful campaign. We want to ensure that you increase your knowledge base of UW and you leave feeling confident in sharing the story. We hope that when this training concludes, you'll feel empowered and informed through new and sharpened skills that allow for you to walk confidently in your role as campaign manager. Once the training has concluded, please feel free to reach out to your UW Development Officer with any questions or concerns, as we are here to help you make the biggest impact possible. Again, thank you for taking the time to be here. Now, grab your favorite note taking supplies, maybe a cup of coffee, and enjoy this campaign manager training.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jill Bungie. I'm the Vice President of Impact and Outreach at United Way of Greater Toledo. And I'm so excited today to share the story of United Way with all of you. So the United Way story, I'm sure many of you have heard of United Way, but our mission in the Greater Toledo area is to unite the caring power of people to improve lives. Our vision is that we have a community where all individuals and families are achieving their human potential through our pillar areas of focus: education, income stability, health, and housing. I'm very excited to talk to you about our community impact work. So we are an organization that, generally people don't fully understand. They recognize our name, but they're not exactly sure what it is that United Way does. So I always like to start off talking about our community specifically over our 3-county footprint in Lucas Wood and Ottawa, discussing the need that we have. First off, in order to afford a 2-bedroom home at fair market rate, a person in Lucas Wood or Ottawa County would have to work 68 hours a week, making minimum wage at $9.30 an hour. Lucas County's infant mortality rate is 9.4 per 1,000 lives births. For Black babies, the infant mortality rate is more than twice that of white babies. And we know that this is caused by the significant racial health disparities that exist in our community and in so many other spheres. County are what we call kindergarten ready when they begin school. So that means that 80% of them are going to need some sort of extra support or intervention before they start their educational career. And finally, 15% of residents across our 3-county footprint are considered food insecure. So that's over 85,000 people who had to skip a meal or didn't know where their next meal was coming from sometime in the past year. So what are we doing about this? That's the reason that you're learning about United Way, that you're dedicating and advocating on our behalf. United Way goes out and raises dollars from companies, from individuals across our community, and we put those dollars to work funding programs that provide the supports that children and families need. These dollars go directly to the agencies who are working boots on the ground every single day to serve our neighbors across Lucas, Wood, and Ottawa counties. At present, we have 50 community partners who administer 60 respective programs. So we are funding multiple programs at different agencies. Last year, we put $8.77 million into the community. We have a robust network of over 400 corporate partners, 20,000 individual donors, and 10,000 volunteers who are annually dedicating, their time and service to make the community a better place, to lend their support on projects of our granted partners. And it's really, our community rallying around advocating for philanthropy and to make positive change. So the next question that we always get asked is, why choosing United Way? We have a very strong system of vetting our funded programs, and we take a lot of care and attention to detail to ensure that we're really stewarding donor dollars and making strong investments in our community into these meaningful and impactful programs. So here's a little overview of our process for how we make investment decisions. In each of our respective counties, we have advisory boards in Wood and Ottawa. Annually, they are reviewing information from the partners that we fund on their programs. They are experts in their community. They come from lots of different sectors. They're reviewing all of the dollars in each of those counties and where they go. They make sets of recommendations, and then they pass those recommendations along to a body that we call our Community Impact Cabinet. Our Community Impact Cabinet approves the recommendations from the advisory boards, and then they go through the same process with our Lucas County investments. So every dollar that's going out the door here is approved by this volunteer board. And again, it's really a cross-sector collaboration of volunteers who are in government, academia, workforce development, housing, education, really content experts and individuals who have community and lived experience to review how our dollars are going out, and again, to make sure that we're investing in really effective programming. So once our Community Impact Cabinet makes those recommendations across all of the counties, those get passed up to our full board of directors, who approves and finalizes all of our investment recommendations each year. So, of course, in order to do that, we have to know who and what to fund through an application process. We opened up our funding most recently in 2021 to go through a 3-year grant cycle. Prior to that, we had not opened up our funding in 6 years, and we knew that following COVID, changes in the community, we knew that we were going to be experiencing an overwhelming number of applications, and we really wanted to revamp our process in ways that were positively, aligning with our values moving forward. So we were very excited to, receive all of these applications from all of the amazing agencies in our community who are doing excellent work. We are now in the midst of our 3-year grant cycle and getting ready to prep for the next. With regard to some of those spaces that we impacted through our last granting cycle, and really looking at kind of our values and what we bring to our funding process, there's a few principles here. So first, bringing a lens of equity to this process. We want to make sure that our application is approachable to many different kinds of agencies, right? Some of those who may have traditionally not thought that they were eligible for United Way funding, or who maybe have less capacity than some agencies. We know there's grassroots organizations, there's large organizations, really a whole spectrum of nonprofit agencies who are doing really good work. And we really wanted to make sure that they got to put their best foot forward in their application. So we had lots of different kinds of tools for them. We made ourselves available for office hours to talk through the grant process, provided additional videos for different types of learners, again, just to make sure that they were able to tell the wonderful story of the work that they're doing in our community. We also recruited, knowing how many applications we were going to get, some additional community reviewers. So our Community Impact Cabinet, of course, those standing members were part of this review process. But then we also put out an application for interested individuals who really wanted to get a more immersive experience and understand the process that United Way goes through to make our investment decisions. Out of 51 applicants, we chose 31 individuals who were vetted and approved by our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And they were intimately involved over a multi-month process, reviewing applications, going through interviews, and really helping to finalize those recommendations before we chose our new set of our granted partners. Those reviewers also, for the first time in United Way history, were demographically reflective of the individuals who are the recipients of the programs that we fund. So that was a major accomplishment for us this year. Another piece is the transparency. So many times in the world of nonprofits and grant writing, you put forth a lot of effort, you describe your program in a narrative form, you submit all this documentation, and then you either get a yes or a no back without a lot of feedback. And this is something that we really wanted to improve upon and make sure that we were being very transparent with our decision-making process. So we provided at each step of the way, after the written application and after the interview, feedback to each applicant from our volunteer bodies and our reviewers. We really wanted them to know how we were guiding decisions, where they could improve if they were not selected to move forward, and just to extend to them that We want to be involved and figure out how we can partner in a meaningful way. We're so excited to be able to share this story back with our donors as to where their dollars are going and how they're really improving lives in our community. So our current granted partner sheet can be found on our website. Again, those are the 50 partners and the 60 programs that we're funding. And as part of this exchange, we are funding these programs, and in turn, they are providing us with the information about their program. We've really taken this data-driven approach. So each year, all of our partners sit down with our data team. They create a logic model that says, here are the goals that we are setting out to achieve this year, with the number of different measures that they have selected and chosen. They report to us at mid-year to say, here's how we're pacing and tracking with that specific logic model. And then they provide us another report at year end. And then in the next year, they go back, revamp their logic model and say, okay, what was successful, what worked, what didn't? How can we retool this to make sure that we have the appropriate data and that we're able to exhibit the great work of our program in a quantitative manner. We also utilize this information to share back out with those partners so that they can also understand the work of their program and the work of our all granted programs in totality. So next I want to talk about collective impact. This is a model that we have adopted over the past 3 years that shifts our impact work into this national best practice that we are really excited to be engaging in across our community. So first I'm going to go through what the conditions of collective impact are. It starts with a common agenda. So this means that people are coming together to collectively define a problem and create a shared vision about how to solve it. If we think about this as an example in the housing space, we all have to agree that, okay, a goal and a vision for our community is to make sure that we're reducing first-time homelessness. We want to keep people in their homes. We don't want people to experience homelessness at all. The second condition is that it establishes shared measurements. So we're tracking progress in the same way, allowing for that continual learning, that accountability piece. In the realm of housing, making sure that all of our emergency shelter providers are tracking they're asking that question, is this your first time experiencing homelessness? So that we can really gauge and track if we're seeing an uptick in first time homelessness, this is a concern. How do we address this as a community? It fosters mutually reinforcing activities. So that means we're integrating all of the partners' different activities to maximize the end result. So if we are bringing all of our emergency shelter providers together, how are we making sure that the individuals who are entering into emergency shelter have the supports across all of these different spaces? If they're going to St. Paul's, they have access to medical care that they need. If they're going to Family House, perhaps they have a job finding program. How do we make sure that all the activities that all the people in the space are doing are ultimately having a greater impact on the people who are experiencing homelessness? The next condition is that it encourages continuous communication. So building trust and strengthening relationships. And this is such a major component. We have to be trusted as a funder. We have to trust that the partners are executing on what they're doing and delivering really high caliber service. That takes time, and especially in the space of housing, right? That all of our partners are working together to make sure that we have that same shared vision, but we all trust each other and know that we're really working to achieve the same goal. The final condition is that collective impact has a strong backbone support. So that means having a dedicated team to align and coordinate the work of these various groups. And that's where United Way comes in. So we are serving as that backbone role. Sometimes it's the most mundane things like scheduling meetings so we can all actually make space, take time together in all of our busy days with all of the things that we're juggling within our own organizations, to come together, convene, and talk about these items, to review data, to look at how we're all progressing within our individual programs, but ultimately how we're serving together as a whole. And this is really the point, right? We're working together collectively. So we want our partners to understand their own data and what their program is having from an impact standpoint so that we can better understand the broader community data, because ultimately we want to impact that population level point. We want fewer people to experience homelessness. We want more people to get into safe and affordable housing quicker and be able to stay there. So what are we all doing together, and how does the composition of all of these programs working individually ultimately achieve that goal for our community? So the final piece of our impact work is around policy and advocacy. This is such a critical component for us. We really seek to connect our donors and our volunteers to public policy and advocacy. Not politics, but to really educate people about how the philanthropic sector is so impacted by dollars that are coming down from federal sources, from state sources, how we can be a conduit from our elected officials with our granted partners so that our elected officials who are representing us really have an understanding of what's happening at a community level. For example, during COVID, we worked very closely with our childcare providers, many of whom were operating in the red. They had, reduced capacity with children in their facilities. It was a really challenging situation for many of these providers, many of whom were women of color. So we opened up channels for them to be able to speak directly to their elected officials so that they could really tell their story, and that those elected officials could then go make decisions to ensure that there's policy, legislation to improve, these sectors or these spaces as a whole. So, we have a policy platform that we put together annually and review, which can also be found on our website. But we are really dedicated to this space and making sure that folks are aware of how they can get connected and how they can become advocates within their community as well. So finally, this is how I like to kind of wrap up all of the amazing work that we do within our impact department, and it's really multi-layered. First and foremost, United Way is a funder, and we invest directly in programs that provide wraparound services. We give unrestricted grant dollars to these health and human service providers who are out there every single day, making sure people have what they need to live a happy and healthy life. The second level up is that we are a convener. Together providers from lots of different spaces, right? We have all of our education providers who we're funding. We have all of the folks in health, all of the folks in financial stability and in housing. We're bringing them together outside of the chaos of all the things that they're managing day to day to say, hey, we need to better understand what each of us are doing in our spaces. And we need to be accountable to one another and the community to make sure that we're actually improving people's lives. The next piece is to share that out. We're sharing it out with you. We're sharing it out with our many constituents, our donors, the community at large, to make sure that they really understand what need exists in our community, how is that landscape shifting, and what can we do to help. And finally, we're ultimately bringing that up to our legislatures, and our elected officials to make sure that they also have that understanding, so that they have a real-time understanding of the picture of our community, and they do their jobs to make sure that they're also legislating and creating policy that's going to better shape and advance our community needs. So in our unicorn fairy tale dream after that, we really envision this space and live in a world and really drive toward the work where individuals and families in Lucas Wood and Ottawa counties have access to everything that they need to live a happy and healthy life. So United Way 2-in-1 is one of my favorite programs to talk about. I love 2-in-1, and it's one of our, I consider it really our crown jewel program at United Way of Greater Toledo. So first, what is 2-in-1? Hopefully you have some recognition with this number, but 2-in-1 is a free and confidential service that helps people across North America find local resources that they need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As you can see here, some general overview stats. In 2020, over 27.8 million contacts were made, connections to health and human resources. 96% of the United States is covered by some semblance of a 2-in-1. The state of Ohio has 100% coverage, which was expanded during the pandemic to ensure that everyone in any county can pick up a phone and call 211 to be connected to services locally. So while we're part of this national network, we really are a localized program. So our local United Way 211, again, it's free, confidential, 24/7, and anonymous, where we're connecting health and human service providers to individuals across Lucas, Wood, and Ottawa County. We like to say that anything under the sun that you can think of in the space of need or providers, we have a wealth of resources for that. So things like job training opportunities, of course, anything in the basic needs space like food and shelter and clothing, childcare, financial counseling and coaching, tax preparation, holiday food assistance, health services, especially some of those more specialized programs like substance abuse, mental health needs, even volunteer opportunities. We really have a robust space of resources where we want to connect folks with the things that they need. Our local structure here, we have a 211 director who oversees our program. We have two managers over the program who monitor a staff of 15 local community resource advisors. We have two individuals who are specifically dedicated to a program that we call coordinated entry, which I'll talk about in just a moment. And then we have a resource team who's dedicated to making sure that our database of local, state, and national records are up to date, are the most relevant information, so that when we're providing a referral to someone, they have everything that they need to show up for service on that day and get what they need from that provider. So the special projects, I think, are, the service in and of itself is standalone. It's very remarkable. No one else is doing it as comprehensively as we are, but I think 211 special projects really are the most critical asset that we have that really showcase how dynamic this program is, and really shows the capabilities of 211 and how we can partner to best serve our community. So a few examples here. First, we each year partner with Local Initiative Support Corporation to schedule free tax appointments. We provide the single point of entry, so people call 211 and visit our website, and they can schedule an array of different sites through the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. So over 3,000 tax prep appointments are scheduled every year, where people can go get their taxes done for free. We partnered specifically with Job and Family Services over the past year to help take applications and process prevention, retention, and contingency dollars. These are federal assistance dollars that are direct cash assistance to families who were impacted by COVID. We handled the approval of applications, processing of payments, direct cutting of the check, making sure the eligibility was appropriate. But ultimately, we put $1.3 million into the hands of Lucas County families who were greatly in need after the pandemic. We've provided holiday assistance. We took over 375 registrations for families and individuals in 2020 who were also impacted by COVID. And we also were monitoring holiday assistance programs that were really in short supply. Some of those agencies who we really depend on to do holiday assistance were just really struggling because there was so much need during the pandemic. So we were able to coordinate the assignment of those individuals who had holiday needs and then get them connected with some resources. And finally, we always mobilize in times of disaster and crisis, COVID being the most recent example. But in March of 2020, we worked directly with Connecting Kids to Meals and Toledo Public Schools to, in 3 days, make an entire registration system where folks could call 211, say that they were going to come pick up a to-go meal for their children, because schools were shut down and so many kids were reliant on free breakfast and lunch at their school. So over the course of 8 weeks, we took over 50,000 calls to schedule those meals. And coordinated access, as I mentioned before, this is really a signature program for us. 211 is the entry point for any individual in Lucas County to get connected to emergency shelter. We've operated this program since 2013. We provide some diversion and prevention resources, but if someone calls 211 and indicates that they're at risk or experiencing homelessness, our community resource advisor will connect them with our coordinated access staff, and they explore their resources, options, and then we maintain a running bed count of 4 major shelters in our community. So the coordinated access assistant will help with intake into shelter. In the event that there are no beds available, we also manage a wait list and then are checking in with these individuals on the wait list daily to see, if we're finding alternatives, to make sure that they're in a safe space to stay. In 2021, we served over 2,800 individuals, or 1,300 households who completed intake to shelter. And we work really closely with partners in this space, with the Homelessness Board, with Lucas Metropolitan Housing, and the Community Advisory Council. And finally, in this space too, we know that homelessness is very complex, but we've recently implemented a pilot program called Housing Problem Solving, to really make sure that we are being responsive to the shifting landscape of housing needs. So these programs are in conjunction with the Homelessness Board, but this adds an additional layer of prevention and diversion to find a more rapid solution to coordinated entry. So we can basically divert people from even entering the shelter system, right? Because we know that people are, and if they're experiencing homelessness, it's a horrifically traumatic crisis point in their lives, and we want to do everything that we can to prevent someone from becoming homeless in the first place. So these are flexible funds where we're able to assess individuals and pull from some grant dollars that are set aside to ensure that people are not homeless in the first place. An example of this was a couple recently who had come into town from Toledo, were originally from Cincinnati. Because of some medical issues, they were temporarily staying in a hotel because our emergency shelter spaces were inadequate for their medical needs. We were able to work with them, with our coordinated entry specialists, and find a solution to pay for them to fix their car and travel back down to Cincinnati, where we knew that they had a safe space to stay. So it's really taking into account on a case-by-case basis, what are people's needs and how can we really rise to address them to make sure that they have what they need to find a resolution to their issue. So we're really excited about that. In the first 6 weeks, we had 37 folks go through this program, and 36 of them were successful in preventing their eviction or preventing homelessness. So here's how you get connected to 211. We have a database. People can call and talk to someone, but we can also have people search for resources themselves on our online database. It's free and open to the public. We have over 800 agencies listed who administer over 2,300 unique programs. Most of these are local agencies, but we also have information on state and national service providers. So what we're doing is collecting as much information as possible to be able to provide a referral for an individual. So the contact information of the agency, eligibility guidelines to receive service, the hours of operation, what documentation you may need if you need an ID and a social security card. So this ensures that when they arrive, they're able to receive service and have everything that they need on site. So we have our resource team, our database specialists, who are tasked with keeping all this information as up to date as possible. Once annually, we're sending out a reminder to each agency to update their program information, but we're also doing this in live time throughout the year. So agencies can log on and update their information. We get information from people who call us, who tell us that maybe service has shifted. And then we're, of course, doing our own research and adding things to the database that are new or evolving or changing. So a quick look here too at some community stats. Just to give you a picture, you can see here our average call volume. In 2021, we hit our highest call record in history since refreshing the program in 2019. So 104,000 contacts, which was due in large part to vaccination efforts and our assistance with getting people connected to those resources when they were available in the early part of the year in 2021. But you can see this ebb and flow here. We average around 250 calls a day. We've seen that steadily increase over the past several years, however. And a quick look here, we served last year 2,800 veteran active duty households, 22,000 contacts from older adults who were 60 plus, 15,000 contacts from households with minor children. And then our top requests, as I've alluded to, are really those basic needs. So housing, food, utilities, and then of course last year, connecting folks with information about coronavirus were also among the top requested services. So now that we've covered some of those basics of 211 and some of the more nuanced features, I really hope that the why not Google question is simple to answer. But what we really want to highlight here is why should someone call 211? Why is 211 such a unique program instead of just being able to go and search something on your own? If any of you or you know folks or have worked in the nonprofit or health and human service space, some of you may know how challenging and complex it can be to navigate what kind of services you need. Additionally, we want to make sure that people have an easy space to access this information when they may be in times of need, of crisis, of hurt. So this is really the power of 211. Additionally, accessibility is really critical to us. We want to make sure that 211 is available to everyone in our community. In order to serve individuals who have limited English proficiency, we have language access services on our database website through Google Translate. And then we also have a translation service over the phone via a third-party provider called Language Line. So if someone calls and indicates that they have a different preferred language, they can indicate that language. We will, in live time, pull a translator onto the phone, provide that translation for the referral. If the agency that we refer to is also unable to provide translation services, folks are able to call us back and we can keep that translator on the phone with an agency representative, the individual, our community resource advisor, and the translator. Additionally, we have marketing materials available in Spanish, Mandarin, and Arabic, and as well as English, which we're happy to provide digital versions of to any provider or individual. And this asking the second question. So I think one of the most powerful things about 211 is our human element. And that's the deepest reason for why not Google. This human element of navigation is just really critical. My most primary example is how important this was during the pandemic. When we saw assistance needed for vaccination efforts. Of course, all of the first round of vaccines were going to older adults in our community who maybe were having challenges navigating some of the technology requirements of finding pharmacies or spaces to go log on and reserve a vaccine. And of course, we were coming out of a very scary and isolating time. So having that human being on the other end of the phone to guide you through that is really what sets this program apart. And many of our community resource advisors already have experience in social work or health and human services, but they then receive training to go a layer deeper. We're asking more questions to better understand what it is that people need and how we can get them the best resources that are suited for their life and their situation. So in this example, maybe someone calls us with need for a car insurance payment. Perhaps we don't have any agencies in our database that help with that particular need, but through conversation, we find out that they recently lost their job. So our community resource advisor can give them organizations that can help with job finding resources, but also might be able to offset some of their budget costs. Can we connect you with a food pantry? Can we find some utility assistance or rental assistance temporarily so that they can really, utilize those tools to make ends meet and figure out a longer term solution for the root cause of their issue. So in summation, multiple ways to reach 211. We want everyone to call. The power of 211 really is in driving community need and making sure that we have the most robust set of information possible from all the wonderful providers in our community who are doing this work day to day. We love feedback. There are actual human beings at the other end of the phone. So we want to know about your experience. We want you to refer other people to us, to encourage them to call. And again, 211 is for everyone in our community. So folks are able to contact us by dialing 211. We alternatively have a 1-800 number, 1-800-650-HELP. You can text 898-211 and chat with the CRA. And then again, you can search our database, all the information that our community resource advisors have at their fingertips. You do too, via 211nwo.org, where you can also online chat with one of our CRAs and have information and referrals sent to you via the internet.
Since you've heard in depth about the amazing work of our Community Impact Department, we wanted to make it tangible for you all and help you really feel comfortable telling the United Way story so that you can inspire others to give through your workplace campaign. And first, as part of that, we want to share the new campaign materials for this year. On the left, you will see a thank you, and on the right, you will see what will be our campaign poster for this year. And in case you can't read the text because it is sort of small, I will read it for you. It says, "You make collective impact. We bring together organizations throughout Northwest Ohio to create the greatest impact in the areas of education, financial stability, health, and housing. We fund effective programs, provide guidance to our partners, and help organizations work together to change lives. Data drives our decision-making so donors can trust their dollars are improving outcomes in our community. Your United Way is strong because we work together. 211 receives more than 75,000 contacts annually to find food, shelter, healthcare, employment, and more. Partners connect resources, professional expertise, and opportunities. Advocates share their voices on critical issues and influence policy change. Donors make our work possible. Volunteers turn time into community impact." So through all of that, you probably heard a couple words a few times like impact, collaboration, but there are a few other keywords that we want you to keep in mind about United Way of Greater Toledo. We really encourage you to commit these words to memory because these keywords speak to our work, and that will really help you when articulating all it is that United Way of Greater Toledo does. So impact, collaboration, data-driven, local partners, equity, and transparency are some words that, like I said, you can just commit to memory without having to go in depth when you're asked the question of what United Way of Greater Toledo does. You may have volunteered for this role, or you may have been voluntold. However you fell into the campaign manager role, we're really glad that you're here. And our goal is to make your job as easy as possible. As a campaign manager, you may be someone who has a passion to create change. You are a trusted colleague. You embrace your company's culture of philanthropy, and you inspire others to make an impact in the local community. We also encourage you to remember that being a campaign manager benefits you. Put it on your resume, your LinkedIn, and really lean into the fact that you're serving as a leader in this role. You're able to grow your leadership, project management, and public speaking skills. You can showcase your commitment and leadership to others in your company. You have the opportunity to collaborate with a diverse team of compassionate and talented coworkers. We truly hope that you view this opportunity as a positive experience because it really is. We want to highlight a few best practices for you all in the campaign manager role. First of them being to attend campaign manager conference or to watch this training video. So you've already done it. You already get the check mark. Then please figure out what inspires you to support United Way of Greater Toledo. Practice your elevator speech, figure out what connects with you the most, because when you speak from the heart about what inspires you regarding the work, that's what's going to encourage others to give to the organization as well. And then, like I said, Jess will go through the top 10 action steps and campaign best practices. So following those will be a key to success. And then stay connected throughout the year. We at United Way love to get coffee or lunch and just update you on the work that's happening all throughout the year. We're no longer an organization that pops up in the fall and runs a campaign, in September or October. We really have a desire to stay connected with our partners and our supporters all throughout the year.
Hi, everybody. This is Sierra Hutton again, a development officer here at UW. And before I get into my section here, I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for making it this far into the training. We appreciate you, not only for all of the work that you're going to be doing through your United Way campaign, but just for taking the time out of your day to learn a little bit more about how we can help you and about some of the great things that you can do to make your campaign even more successful. So I'm going to go over a few tips, tricks, and action steps, and just a few last things before we wrap up. We'll start with some awesome action steps. So one of the biggest things that you can do to just really help yourself, mainly when it comes to creating a successful campaign, is to recruit a team. Find maybe there's an intern on your team who wants to get a little bit more involved. Maybe there's some new associates or just other people within your organization that want to get a little bit more involved and would like to help out with this campaign. It takes some of that, pressure off of you, and then you're able to work together to create your campaign. And one of the biggest things you can do is set a goal, set something that is a challenge, but attainable. So maybe this goal doesn't always have to be number-based, like dollar amount number-based. It could be, maybe last year your company had 50% participation, and this year you want to do 75%, or you want to go for 100% participation. Whatever that is, just set that goal. And don't forget, we will be working with you throughout your entire campaign to just go over, throughout your campaign, what's happening, who's been giving, who maybe hasn't yet had a chance to give, those donors that maybe they increased their gift, or those new donors. And so this way you're able to go and say thank you. They will always receive a thank you from us here at United Way, but it is always nice when the campaign manager takes a second to either send them a quick email that just says, hey, thanks so much for participating, or stops by their desk and says thanks. And then one of the other cool ways that you can do is start to think about your engagement opportunities, whether it's within the time frame of your campaign or you consider something within the few months after. There are so many opportunities to get involved. Your campaign, just because it may only be 1, 2, maybe 4 weeks at a time, doesn't mean that your impact on the community has to stop there. You can actually think about many different ways, volunteering with, one of our local agencies here, or working with your development officer to really think about what would be best for your company in terms of getting involved. So let's go over a few campaign best practices. So these are really important because not only do these help, again, with you having a successful campaign, but they also help you get some awards potentially after we get through all of our campaigns. So one of the cool ways that you can do this is, hosting a kickoff event. This is something that you can set up with your development officer. They can help you plan it out. Maybe you ask for one of our United Way agencies, or maybe you want your development officer to come speak at your kickoff, things like that. If your company has the resources, offering a corporate match or a corporate gift is an incredible way to gain traction within your organization. I know that some of my companies, they actually like to do where if an employee gives so much, maybe if they give $10 or more, they get a free day off, something like that. Or if they have 100% participation, everyone gets the same day off, as an example. And then use the e-pledge if you're able to do that. So if you didn't have a chance to talk with your development officer yet about using the e-pledge platform, please reach out to us and let us walk you through that, because it's a great resource. It's something that can definitely make your life a little bit easier, along with some other tools. So those are just some of the best practices. As you can see, there's plenty more. And if you have questions about these, just reach out to your DO.
One of the really neat things that we have here at United Way, that we continue to evolve every year, just to make your life as the campaign manager a little bit easier, is our online toolkit. So you can see the link there to our website. When you find yourself on the campaign manager toolkit, really everything you need for your campaign is going to be here. So if you need a printed pledge card, if you need marketing materials, you want more virtual trainings, you need a corporate pledge form, whatever it is, you're going to be able to find it on this website. So we always like to make sure that you have access to this. If for some reason you ever lose access, if you can't find it, reach out to your DO. We'd be more than happy to send it to you again, because there's so many resources on here that will make your life easier. And we are all about making it easier for you, since we know how hard you're working. And then last thing here is something that I find to be one of the coolest things about being a campaign manager. As your DO on our end, we see inside and out how hard you are working. You're like your company's development officer, right? You're in there, you're encouraging everyone to give, you're planning the events, you're reining in the team. If you have a team, you're working with everyone, you're getting them excited. And so there are a lot of ways to get recognized. Every year, we're so excited to do this. The CEOs of all of our incredible supportive companies, along with campaign managers who have been, so involved with their United Way campaign for year over year, we actually get to induct them into our Hall of Fame. It's not just you, it can be your whole company getting recognized, which you all deserve that when you're working hard. So we have quite a few different awards. So I won't go into all of them, but you can actually see them all on our campaign toolkit. There's a link there. You'll be able to just read about each one and how you receive that award. If you're a new campaign manager, if this is your first year, just know that there's so many things that you can shoot for. And if you've been doing this for 10, 15 years as our campaign manager, please know that we are so grateful for you. And if you're not already in the Hall of Fame, I promise your time is coming. So I just want you to know how grateful we are for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for taking the time. If you have any questions, please know that you can reach out to your development officer. If you are unsure who that person is, we'll leave our contact information on the last slide here. Reach out to any of us and we would be more than happy to connect you with the right person. And just know, like I said again, you are making such an impact on your community by doing this. And no gift amount is too small. No organization goal is too small. Every dollar that comes in is making a difference. So thank you all so much. And we hope that you have a great day.